Hey there, listeners, and welcome to another episode of The Finnovator with me, Stuart Bell, business coach. And in this episode of The Finnovator, I wanted to share a masterclass interview session I had with Glenn Hare and Jessica Brady at Fox Hare. If you don't know the name Fox Hare, they have made quite a splash on the industry, launching through my good friend Dean Holmes's venture, The Wealth Network. They sort of hit the ground running with some really clear messaging, a great target marketing, and some really insightful marketing that got traction in a big way. If you've been following them, probably know a lot about the way they've done things and how they've approached it, but this was a little bit of a different conversation. I find that when I work with businesses, there are a number of different stages that advice practices go through when they're actually building. If you're interested in more about this, we have a page on our site all about it called The Journey to Scale. But in that startup phase, it's really interesting. What you focus on at the beginning is just as important as what you don't focus on, to be honest. That first stage, when you get up and running, it's really just about making sure that you nail that most important thing, which is getting clients in the door and getting the business up and running. And it's when you come to that second phase, which in this interview we call Chapter 2. A whole bunch of new challenges come around. And in this interview, which was a lot of fun to do, mainly because Glenn and Jessica are so very engaging. They've got a really interesting dynamic as well. The way they work together and their sort of comparisons of styles. I can see why they work so well together. But we talked about what happens when you hit that need to start growing the business beyond just that initial marketing piece. There was so much insight in this session, as well as some great stories about the journey so far and a peek in behind. When you sort of learn about businesses or you hear about what they read in the media, sometimes it's really useful to jump in behind and understand the things that didn't go so well, the challenges they face and overcome. And I think I came out of there with some really practical insights for anybody, whether you're starting down a path of rebooting your marketing, or you're looking to retarget or realign your business with a target market, or you just want to know what it takes to grow as quickly as those guys have. This was so full of insight, not to mention a really great conversation. So I hope you enjoy it as much as I do. So let me hand over to Jessica, Glenn, and myself, and let's find out a bit about what Chapter 2 has been like for Fox Hare. Let me just give you the quick background before we kick it off. If you aren't familiar with Fox Hare, it's been really interesting to watch the development and growth of the business. I had the opportunity to work with Dean Holmes, and if you are interested a little bit about what he's been working on, Dean, who's on the webinar today, I ran a webinar with him called The Practice Factory, which talks a lot about sort of his vision he has for, if you like, a new style of licensee out there. And Jessica and Glenn are one of Dean's projects, we'd call it, but it's been fascinating to watch them sort of come out in the way they've marketed, the way they've grown, the way they've got traction, and those key sort of things they've done really well. That I guess follow certain rules, but they also shake things up. But I guess today, what I wanted to do is I wanted to talk about what happens next, because my experience has been, and there's been a lot of books read about this, about the progression of businesses. Vern Hanish is scaling up, Meister's managing the professional services firm, all that sort of stuff. And business kind of changes along the way. And I think sometimes hearing those transition stories, including, what should be your metrics at certain points? What do you do next? What were the things you'd do differently if you had the time again? That's what's really interesting. I just finished, by the way, Phil Knight's Shoe Dog. And that's a really interesting story in there as well. Let's kick this off. So let's just get Jess and Glenn in. Hello.
Hi.
How are you doing?
I'm doing well, thank you. Thanks so much for having us.
Thank you very much for agreeing to join me. We'll get Glenn as well. Yeah, I have been looking forward to this one. And when we sat down and started talking about the topic, and you guys started to talk about where you've come from and where you're at now, I just thought there's a story in there that needs to be told. Glenn, are you there?
I am here.
Perfect. Welcome, man. Are you guys safe and sound and on a Friday?
Safe, sound, warm, can't complain.
That's what you want, isn't it? You're in Surrey Hills, right, Jess?
Yes, I am.
Glenn, are you also in Surrey Hills?
No, just down the road in Waterloo.
Nice. Now, Waterloo's changed a lot, hasn't it?
It has. We actually only just moved here a couple of weeks ago from Coogee. And yeah, it's very, very different to what it was 5-6 years ago.
Love it. I actually, when my daughter was born all those many years ago, we actually lived in Coogee. Coogiee's great. Coogiee's
Oh, beautiful, beautiful part of the world.
Hey guys, I'm really excited to talk to you about this growth journey piece, but I guess let's kick it off by sort of, for those who, for whatever reason, don't know you guys or haven't heard the story, and I'd be surprised if anyone here hasn't. Can you just give them a 2-minute who you are, how it started, who you work with, and how the business works?
Yeah, sure. So Jess and I used to work at a Mac Bank together, did a lot of road trips as BDMs, and it was actually a road trip out to Dubbo and Orange, Bathurst, meeting advisors, and we just got talking, as you do when you're in a car with each other for about 6 hours, going, well, what's next? What's the next step for us? And we kind of took a step back and thought about, the clients that we work with, which were all advisors at the time. And we wanted to start a business that would shake up the industry. So to work with a very different demographic to who typically seeks advice. So we looked into some statistics around, the average age of an advisor kind of typically being in their 50s. Most people not seeking advice until they're 5-6 years from retirement. 78% of advisors being men. We wanted to create a space for the next generation to feel really comfortable to have those conversations in a non-judgmental environment. And really the premise behind kind of every conversation that we have with our members is ensuring that they make the smartest financial decisions sooner rather than later. So in terms of our members, the demographics, I reckon probably about 80% are in their 30s, but with kind of just a couple in their 20s and a couple in their early 40s, but all in that accumulation phase.
Beautiful. Now, I notice you use the word members. Jess, why members? Why not clients? How did that come? That's obviously deliberate, right?
It is deliberate, yeah. So this is something that I think early this year we decided to make it feel more like a membership base, and we have a structure, and I'm sure we'll get into this in a bit more detail, but we have a monthly membership fee. And we like to offer our members exclusive events and access to exclusive speakers. And so we want it to be not just about the financial advice that they receive, but we want them to feel like they're a member of a community. And being part of a community means that you get much, much more for your membership. And we think it really correlates to the programs and the business that we're trying to build as well.
So what would you say have you got an oldest client and a youngest client? What's the range in there, just to understand the demographic of it?
Yeah, I've got a member who's in her late 40s, and she often giggles and says, am I too old for Fox and Hare? And it's not, and we laugh, and obviously she's not. It's about what goals you have. She came to me and said, right, I'm going to transition into my version of retirement and passive income now. I don't think we'd be the right fit for her, but she's really ambitious. She's a senior executive at a very large organization. She's got amazing goals. She's really killing it in her career. She just had no idea how to correlate that income into actually getting her forward in terms of the goals she wants to achieve. So I think she's our oldest client. And Glenn, I think you have our youngest client.
Yeah, he just turned 25. So our youngest client was 24, but he's now 25. He's actually a young investment banking grad, earning over 100 grand, living at home, considerable disposable income. And if the conversation is all about, okay, well, let's just not waste that. Let's kind of, get you ahead of the pack. And he's being in kind of that type of high stress role. He doesn't want to do spreadsheets all day at work and then come home and do his own personal spreadsheets. And it's interesting, a number of our members are investment bankers in kind of their early 30s, and they've kind of done nothing for the last 5 years. Whereas this guy, he's like, actually, you know what? I don't have the capacity to deal with kind of my personal finances. I don't have the time. Let's outsource that, so that when he does get to kind of those, the early 30s, he's like I said, a bit of ahead of the pack.
Love it. So it's kind of a certain age group where it's very much about they're generating sort of resources, income. They're able to do that, but they're looking about how they sort of manage it and take that next step. That's kind of who you're working with.
100%.
Beautiful. Okay. So I've been sort of following the marketing, and I do want to talk a little bit about the marketing. I know you've spoken a lot about this, but right from the word go, you guys came in guns blazing and just going, like, it was almost like, it was really smart. It was like, there was more focus on making a statement than there was not upsetting people, right?
Yeah.
That evolved. Yeah.
We were in corporate for 12 years. We were shackled. We were ready to be free.
We had statements to make.
The guys at Sovereign who were at Macquarie for a long, long time. Yeah, I've worked with people at Macquarie. Don't get me wrong, Macquarie's great, but there's a lot of people come out there going, I know that I want to head in another direction with certain things. So did that sort of desire to shake things up and the messaging, did it evolve naturally? Or was it, you knew exactly what you wanted to say and how you're going to say it from day one?
Oh, no, it was definitely a bit of both. So there was definitely a strategy, a very well-considered strategy. So Glenn and I met for on and off probably about 2 years to develop Fox Hare before we launched it. So
wow. Okay.
Make no mistake, like we were very strategic in when we launched, we were ready to rock and roll, but we realized that we had this voice and we had done a lot in the community. And we were ready to talk and to be very clear about the fact that financial advice is not just for old, wealthy white men. There's nothing wrong with old, wealthy white men getting financial advice, but it's not just for them. And at the same time, the same-sex marriage
love is love
article was on. And so I just spoke to a whole heap of trade journos and said, hey, we're about this. We're about celebrating diversity. And Stu, what ended up happening is we got all this PR, which I didn't expect that we would get. And so then this created all of this momentum.
Right.
And that really led to a tremendous amount of opportunities and our brand being really thrust into the spotlight, which we didn't really plan for.
Right. It's interesting because this is the whole thing. When you talk to people, some people will assume that it was manufactured that way, and some people will assume that it evolved, and the truth is usually a bit more complex than that, right? Can I ask you a question? Like, I've often heard people say that not enough people go out and ask to get published in newspapers or put their stuff out there. And the moment you ask, you realize that difficulty level just ramps down. It's actually really easy to get your stuff. Would you agree with that?
Yeah. Totally.
So if someone hasn't done it before, is it just a case of grab email addresses, send out stuff? How would you say they should do it?
So I just LinkedIn messaged some journos from some trade media places and said, hey, we've just launched a new business. Here's an angle. I mean, obviously, if you're going to get coverage, there has to be something relevant for them to cover.
Yep.
And I said, we're a new financial advice business. We're open to really celebrating diversity and getting younger people getting financial advice. We believe in same-sex marriage. Do you want to chat about it? And obviously, that was an angle that they wanted to pick up.
Yep.
But what was interesting is when I looked at how many shared connections we had on LinkedIn, there was virtually none. Like, even the trade press don't have as many contacts in the industry as I'd expected them to have. So I think you just got to be brave. And if they don't want to pick up that story, know that that's okay. And then you come back to them with literally 2 lines. And what you'll find is over time, you build a relationship with them. And then they end up coming to you and saying, hey, would you like to comment on this?
Love it. So we could spend all time day talking about the marketing, but let's talk about the journey. Like, you're growing fast, obviously. It's starting to get traction. You've got people coming in going, I like what you stand for. I like what you're all about. You've obviously got an offer in there. Talk to me about, the things that went better than you expected and the challenge, the things that kind of you hit a bit of a wall en route. It was kind of like, the duck or the swan, everything's fine up top, but you're paddling away. Yeah. The first part of it, what were the good bits and what's going on here?
So I'll talk about the start, and then maybe Glenn, if you want to go through some of the challenges, there have been many. So, 2 years before we launched, we were planning. We did a number of focus groups, which I think were extremely helpful. So we're really narrow and niche on who we want to work with. 25 to 45 is who we say. They're typically white collar professionals earning good money, don't know what to do with it. Highly experiential, very driven, very goal oriented. Just can't figure out how to transition or translate their income into achievement of goals. So we spent 2 years really trying to understand our market. We did focus groups, and when we launched, we actually had 10 clients ready to go. Okay. So the beginning for us was probably quite unusual in terms of how other businesses start. Like the website was fully developed. Like, we really tried to understand what all of our programs would deliver ahead of launch. And so that meant that, as you rightly pointed out, there was momentum from the very beginning.
Yeah.
But there's definitely been many twists and turns. Glenn, do you want to go through a myriad of them?
Yeah, totally. I mean, I know the biggest challenge that Jess and I always grapple with is capacity.
Okay.
There is so much opportunity in this space. We literally have a wait list of people looking to join Fox and Hare, which is a great challenge to have, but it is still very much a challenge. And, we are very focused on ensuring that we continue to deliver an experience, and that's advice, and that's the membership, and that's the value add that we are really proud of. And we don't want to dilute that just to kind of keep bringing on, copious amounts of members. So we've spent a lot of time over the last, 2 years ago, it was just Jess and I. There's now 10 of us within the team, and eight of those members are kind of in support roles. We're in the process of interviewing for 3 additional advisors. Like, capacity has always been probably the number one challenge for us, both through kind of the talent that we work with, tech, and also just the ever evolving processes of building these experiences for our members.
It's really interesting that you spent 2 years doing focus groups, because it's interesting. Whenever I do value proposition work with practices, if you take it back to the marketing, copywriting, fundamentally it starts life as a research project. And one of the most difficult things to do is to get businesses to go out and just talk to potential clients, tech startup style, and go, what are your big problems? What are your frustrations? What are your fears? What are your aspirations? You spent 2 years doing it. And I think there's a correlation between that and the speed at which it grew and the traction the offer got. Would you agree?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we didn't do continual focus groups every day for 2 years, but we did a number of them over that period. And actually a lot of them have translated into members, which was not the intention at all. But I think that they felt really like they helped grow and influence what the business would look like. And, it's funny because we were our ideal clients. We were earning good income. We were young. So we thought we knew exactly what people wanted from us. And it was so easy to have just gone, no, we get it. And yet when we got the feedback and we had it externally facilitated, which I would definitely recommend, because otherwise you end up selling it. The feedback was so clear and obvious. And we were like, of course we should do it like that. Like, how could we not have thought like that? But just sort of to Glenn's point around continual improvement, like we haven't stopped that since we launched the business. So we do member focus groups now. We've done a couple of focus groups with non-members since we've launched. And in fact, Charlotte yesterday and today is actually on the phone talking to our most recently onboarded members, trying to understand what worked about your onboarding experience and what could we have made better. So it needs to, we think it needs to be continual. Otherwise we're just going to get stale.
And are you using technology to deliver that onboarding? Like email marketing tools?
So in terms of the onboarding experience, so we definitely use tech for that in terms of how we capture data, how we input data, how we monitor our members' success. In terms of kind of the prospecting, so before they actually do become a member, we probably haven't been as scientific about that yet. Okay. And that's because that's not where the challenge lies. Like, we've already got, quite a considerable number of people reaching out for us. So our focus has been ensuring that we deliver once they do become members.
Yeah, a coach I've got a lot of time for, he said this thing, it's always stuck with me. He said, Tristan Bond, he said, the first $1 million of your business is a marketing problem. After that, it's a leadership problem. And it's always stuck with me that if you're not at that point, the problem you need to solve is a marketing one. It's really good. I want to talk about the wait list. Some people may react emotionally to that, but I also know there's a lot of businesses out there who can't say no to new business. Why did you choose to tell people they have to wait rather than just power through and find a way of solving the problem?
This is a good one and a good question, because Jess and I, this has been a challenge for the best part of 12 months. And we're not saying no. We're booking them in to catch up, but unfortunately it'll be kind of 6 months or 8 weeks, 6 weeks or 8 weeks away. Not, we can catch up next week.
Right.
And the thing is, I personally was quite concerned. I was like, oh, are they going to walk away and things like that? And Jess kind of, brought this up, and it was around the fact that no, they're going to be, they're going to appreciate that our focus is on our existing members, ensuring that their experience is, not diminishing because we're taking on too many people. And we have not had anyone go, oh, that's too long, I can't wait.
No, nobody. If you see a line outside a nightclub, it makes you want to get in more and not less. So.
I was just about to say that. Like we value that when we see a specialist medical doctor or a lawyer or something like that. And if it means that we can be really clear on what we're delivering, and it means that they're going to get a higher quality experience with us, then actually I think that exclusivity, if you like, is not a bad thing at all. And we do tell tell people that. So we say to them, so currently, if you would like to book in a new session with us, there's about a 6-week wait, not 6 months. I nearly cried when you said that. But we say to them, look, we only bring on a certain amount of members per month, and that's so that we can really make sure we're giving you all of the time and effort and energy we know it takes to give you really good advice. People love that. People want that. And so people are very happy to wait.
If you go to Tesla's, I'm going to pull out an example. You go to Tesla's website, you go to the Cybertruck, it's not coming out till 2023, but you pay $150 fully refundable deposit, and you can place your order now. Now it's such a low entry, and suddenly you're locked into the enthusiasm. So it's not a new strategy, but it's a smart one. And I think.
Yeah. And can I just interject? Rachel's just asked a question, which is a really good one around how are you engaging with them during the wait time?
Yes.
So this is something where we grapple with. So in my head, I would like to have like a fully automated, if there's a 6-week wait, like a 6-week thing to get them ready, but we don't have that yet. That's something that I would love, and it's on the to-do list. However, they do enter our system immediately, and they do start receiving comms from us immediately. And we, during COVID, really ramped, like we invested in a copywriter and have ramped up our comms hugely, and we've done a whole heap of lives. So even if they're waiting 6 weeks from the day that they reach out to us, they go into our system automatically, they start getting comms from us. And I think then we're about for our non-members, it's like 1 comms piece per week at the moment, and about 1 Facebook Live per month for non-members.
There's a couple of really good questions coming in. I want to ask 2 things. I'm going to pull some of those out. The first one is, who does the content?
Yeah, so Charlotte from our team manages the program, our marketing program. Yep. Jess and I really come up with the themes that we want to be delivered through that program, and then we have 2 copywriters that draft it, and everything goes through Jess and I for final sign off.
But is it written in your voice, or is it written in someone else's voice?
Definitely in our voice.
Perfect. And is there a reason for that?
It's not a good use of our time. We're not naturally.
So you don't enjoy the copywriting, but it's really important that the messaging comes from you as the figureheads of the business, essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just because we're having conversations with our members on a daily basis, we know what are the themes, what are people struggling with, what do people want to know. So we share those themes with Charlotte, who then works with the copywriters who understand so it's the Fox and Hare tone of voice that they then draft that content in.
Love it.
Because this is the common trap, right? Like we could do it. We could do all of the comms, but then we cannot do everything. And so it was very obvious to us, especially at the beginning of COVID, our time is better used to get on the front foot, to get contacting members, to make sure that they feel okay during this period. And if we can do a 10-minute brief to the copywriter, that's such a better use of our time and resources.
Love it. So let's pull out a few questions, because there's some good ones about the businesses now. Dean, tell us, I am actually really interested in this. Your community. How do you keep them engaged? How do you set the expectation that this is about people talking to people, not just directly one-to-one all the time?
Do you want me to answer this, or do you want to?
Yeah, so various ways. So first and foremost, for the vast majority of our members, we have progress meetings with them every 12 to 16 weeks. So that's us proactively reaching out to them. Through our programs and our monthly subscription, we encourage our members to reach out to us whenever they need to. And in terms of when they typically reach out to us, they get paid a bonus, it's coming up to the end of the financial year, they're doing their tax return, they get remember our members, propensity to earn is only going to increase because they're all kind of climbing the various ladders. So they reach out to us for all of those various kind of components. Okay. We also have our app, which is through a piece of software called My Prosperity, which we proactively monitor our members' goals through that platform. We also have been hosting exclusive member-only events. Okay. Advertising, and letting, obviously everyone on our mailing list know that these member-only events are coming up, but only our members have access to those. Gotcha. And over the last couple of months, we've had, a property economist, a broader economic economist. Just sat down with a goals coach a couple of weeks ago. I sat down with a high performance careers coach. So again, these are all members only, and our members submit questions prior to those, so they get direct access to these individuals or these professionals that they may have previously not had access to.
Lovely. Anything else?
Well, we used to do. Remember when we all could do face-to-face events where members could meet each other, and we had a panel event where some of our members talked about their journey and how they've made change and what that looked like. And obviously when we were all allowed in the same room, our other members could ask questions, and we really wanted to do something similar to that this year, but obviously that's a bit on hold. But they were extremely successful, and it was really great for members to be able to meet other members and just chat. That's what our members told us in our focus group last year that they want more of, actually.
I can make it. In February, we did the last accelerator we've done at Bridge Climb. Have you ever checked that out for a member event?
Do you have to climb the bridge?
No, you don't have to, Jess, but it's awesome. Incredibly well priced for what it is.
Thank you.
And it's a great experience on a number of levels. So I'll put that out there. Yeah.
Thanks.
Actually, I want to ask very quickly, and then I'm going to pick up some of the questions because they're coming through fast. This is how you've got a good discussion going when the questions are flowing. Don't want to lose sight of the fact that ultimately the more and more you grow, the less and less you can focus on more widely, right? You've got to sort of narrow your focus, which means you can put technology in, but eventually you've got to have people. You are growing really fast, which means people become really even more important, right? You must be hiring all the time.
Just like that. And I think we have been for at least the last 12 months. But yeah, like I said, so we hire, so there's we break our team into three functions. So the advice management team, which is, those that do super research, insurance research, kind of that paraplanning style role, admin, and then member success. And member success is, the kind of the customer service style. Yep. And we're like over the last 12 months, our strong focus has been building that kind of back-end machine. Yep. And now we're in a position where we can hire advisors, knowing that they have the support of that back-end machine to really service new Fox and Hare members.
What kind of people are you looking for?
Driven. Good
what did you say, Jess?
Good ones.
Good ones. Tell us the good ones.
So we've made a few mistakes with hires, being really transparent, and this has been a huge learning and a painful learning for everyone, as I'm sure many people online have experienced. But I think for us, it's all about attitude. It's all about really wanting to get up and get out of bed every day to help our members live amazing lives. We have got Glenn, this hasn't come up yet, but Glenn is the most, well, maybe only you guys could compete for this, but most organized, structured, maybe OCD sort of person, which lends itself to efficiency. And I am all EQ. I am not process driven whatsoever. And together we really balance each other out. But we want someone who really fits into, we've got a beautiful team. They call us the Fox and Hare family. And we really want someone who's passionate, who's driven, who wants to help our members succeed and really live a great life. Like, we want to practice what we preach as well. There's no point drilling and running ourselves into the ground, living awful lives like many people do to support their members. So I don't know if that answers your question, but yeah, working at Macquarie drives a big thing.
the Macquarie thing about how they used to make departments compete against departments. I understand in theory why it would work, but it's a bit cannibalistic, right? It must be exhausting.
It works.
Well, yeah, Rach says I'm OCD, but I think it's more the obsessive, not the compulsive. Anyway, so if they're meet all those sort of what's characteristics, and they love giving advice to a certain demographic, or they're really, really good at customer service, member success. They're the kind of people that you're looking to fuel.
Totally. And adaptable to change, right? Like Fox and Hare is evolving so fast. Like, Jess and I have a 5-year plan. We have a 3-year plan. We have an annual plan. We have 3-month kind of breakdowns, and we're still catching up, every single week, pivoting, what is right for Fox and Hare, what is right for our members. So it's just this, constant evolving piece, and we never want to remain stagnant. We never want to be like, oh, well, that's how we've done it for the last 12 months, or that's how we've always done it, or this is how the industry approaches that. We want to make sure that we're pushing the boundaries, and some of the companies that we look to aren't in financial services in terms of how their member experience is.
So which company, funny enough, that question bouncing around in my head, which companies do you look up to?
Sorry.
Of course, Jess, go.
I'll tell you one that I love, and this is not, and I don't think we have to look up to just big companies. I buy coffee from, and I don't get commission, but I possibly should, from a little company in SA called Urban Brew. And I love their online experience. I love that they have a membership. I love that they can deliver compostable, ethical coffee at home, so I don't have to spend money on coffee and go outside, which is scary. And the comms, I never have to worry about knowing where everything is up to. They're proactive, their tone of voice is great, they're funny. When I get my coffee, there's like a little handwritten note, and it's got like a cute little coffee quote. The box has got these funny quotes around coffee. Like, just the whole thing has been really well thought through. And as a customer of theirs, all I want to know is my coffee is coming, and yet I get all these little extra, what we call in our business, popsicles, that really surprise and delight me along the way. Like, that's a business where I think, gosh, if we could do more of that stuff, that would just be like, that's my immediate reaction. I think sometimes we look at like the Apples or the Nikes or what have you. Like, if you're a tiny little business, sometimes that can feel really overwhelming because you don't have those budgets and resources. But there are really great examples of small Aussie-based businesses doing really great, and they are on pillars for me. Sorry, I railroaded you.
That was good. Glenn.
Yeah, totally. And if you kind of pick up on what Jess is saying, it's the experience, right? Like, yes, we do super and insurance and investments and budgets and all of that, which is all obviously we do very well. And that is the backbone of what we do. But where we differentiate ourselves is the experience, and the experience that our members have with us. One of the challenges that we do face is around tech. And if I look at different kind of tech companies, so Uber as an example of that, our members almost expect us to be and to be able to communicate with us like they do with Uber. Like you go to the app and it's seamless. You know who's driving you, you know their rating, you know if there's Dettol in the car, you can pick your music. The payment process. Like, I used to hate getting out of cabs and having to, fumble around trying to pay with your credit card.
Yeah.
Our demographic, the demographic that we work with, almost expect that type of experience. It's not like if we gave them that experience, they'd be like, wow, this is so great. It's almost they expect it from us, which is certainly challenging, but something that, again, we want to work towards.
Love it. Let's get some questions because there's a few piling up. Metrics. How obsessive is the wrong word, but how strongly have you or do you measure metrics in the business? Jess is looking at me going,
I love a dashboard.
Yeah.
Love a dashboard. So we look at all different types of metrics. So we're looking at obviously revenue. So new revenue, your traditional kind of reoccurring revenue. We look at how many new contacts reach out to us. Where do they reach out to us from? So are they reaching out to us from the website, the different social platforms, through personal connections, through business connections, through referral partners, through existing members, and working out not only where do those contacts or prospects come from, but then those new members, which are the most successful referral partners, like what's the conversion rate between, how many prospects we have to kind of new members, how many coffees do we need to do in order to bring on, to convert to kind of new members. We also look at, obviously the number of, we have 3 different coaching programs, working out, if, the middle program is kind of our flagship program, we've got metrics around how many people we can manage within that program. We also look at metrics around our members. So the way that we measure success for our members is, are they on track to achieve their goals? And this is something that we're really transparent about and really have a lot of conversations with our members about. Yeah, it's great to get 1.5% instead of 1% in a high interest account, or 8-10% of a portfolio that might be invested for kind of a 10-year time frame. But what they want to know is, when are they going to generate that passive income? When are they going to be able to retire? How long is it before they can buy their first home? If they have 2 kids and send them to private school, when will their mortgage be paid off? Our measure of success is around, are they on track? Green, going to hit the goal? Are they red? Off track because they've deviated from the strategy? Or are they amber? Is there different things that we could potentially be doing in order to expedite the success of those goals?
So good. And do you think, David asked an interesting question, and I think I'm going to read into this one and dig underneath, but like, growth is good, but some growth can be really bad. And sometimes people, do you have certain things that you're looking at and going, okay, we're happy to grow in this way, but if we start heading in that direction, we need to put the brakes on? I mean, staff must be one of them, right? What are the things you're keeping an eye out for as you grow?
Yes. So I often think about the Oprah effect, where if you get a lot of PR and you're not ready to support it, it can be detriment. It can have huge negative. And we've seen that. Like, there have been moments where Glenn and I have gone like, oh my gosh, like, we're not ready for this amount of reach outs or what have you. And to be honest, poor Glenn has to put the brakes on me a lot, because I want to do all these crazy, unusual, off the Richter sort of programs and ideas, and we just can't support the growth of that right now, which is heartbreaking, because as Glenn has rightly pointed out, we talk a lot in the industry about all the challenges and all the, reform and all of the things that have been happening, and they're true, and it is frustrating and challenging, but there is so much opportunity, and we have had to put, backburn so much stuff that we really want to get to, because we cannot support the growth right now. But that's exciting. It's a challenge, but it's an exciting challenge to have.
I honestly think you could I've never been clearer for me that if you can split the industry in 2, it's people who are optimistic about the future and people who are not. And it's such a dichotomy. It's one or the other. But I think we're living in the greatest opportunity for advice that there's ever been. It's just an incredible evolution. It's hard and it's tough, but about 2 years from now, the people who are moving in that direction are going to be a long way ahead. Yeah, let's pull out Dino's question. Tell us about COVID. First time as advisors where you've got to pick up the phone and go, it's all gone to hell in a handbasket. What was that like?
It was, okay, so we do a lot, when we bring on new members, we're really passionate about education. So, talking about what do the good times look like? What do the challenging times look like? So we really didn't have anyone call us and go, what have you done? You've lost all our money, or whatever the case may be. Obviously, we could not predict what had happened, but our members knew that how markets trade. Sometimes they go up, sometimes they go down. What we did do, though, was Jess and I booked out time in our diary to check in with every single one of our members, and just to see how they are feeling, and to let them know that everything's okay. This is all part of the strategy. This is the longer term game plan. We know based on historical data, markets will rebound. Did we have a few people reach out? They're like, oh, should I move my cash to super and things like that? Yeah, we did. But enabling them, having that conversation around what the impact that could be, and kind of referencing some of the conversations that we had already had with them pre kind of COVID. They were like, oh yeah, remember that? Yeah, okay, yeah, I remember you saying that.
That's a good point.
So we also had a lot of people reach out, because we do a lot of work with those in kind of tech and in kind of professional services, and in those spaces, tech companies are kind of doing better than they ever have, because we've never been more digital. And we also, within professional services, we're in a privileged position where we can work from home. And, we had a lot of people reach out, say like, oh, maybe now is a good time to invest, thinking through the fact that, our members are all fairly young, like they're all in their majority are in their 30s. For a lot of them, this was an opportunity to make money that had just kind of been sitting in a bank doing nothing, actually go to work for them. For us, we are in a fortunate position that COVID hasn't impacted us negatively. It's been challenging. We hired 4 people in March while I was in the Margaret River. Jess had to, their first week was moving them home. So from a cultural perspective,
welcome on board. Here's the door.
Pretty much. So from a cultural perspective, that's probably just been the main thing, right? And everyone's going through such individual experiences in their personal lives and different challenges. We just need, that's something that we've really needed to be much more conscious of. From a member's perspective, no issues.
It's interesting. That's why onboarding is so important, because if you set the expectations before it happens, you can have the conversation. And I think the point about different people experiencing different things is really important. My mum's in Western Australia, and she's one of the main importers of face masks into WA. So her experience of COVID has been very, very different. Plus, she lives out in the middle of nowhere. Let's talk about the offer. Has the offer to your clients, the service offering, the way you position it, has it evolved? Has it changed?
Yes, and it's constantly changing, and it should. So the programs themselves, so we've got 3 coaching programs. They are the same, like there's a lot about them that is the same as when we launched, but we are constantly trying to improve them.
What are the coaching, can you share what they are, the coaching programs?
Yeah. Our first coaching program is called Get Sorted. You can probably understand what that is. So that's for people who low complexity, they're earning good money, but they just don't know where to start. So it's just about getting them started on their journey. The one that Glenn was referencing before, our middle program, which is called Like a Boss. This is our most taken up program. This is for people who've, I will say they've had a crack. So they've done something themselves. So they've bought their first property, or they've started their own portfolio. Most of our members have read the likes of Barefoot Investor or listened to money podcasts. They've hit a ceiling and they don't know what to do next. Within that program, we have progress meetings about every 12 to 16 weeks. So there's a high touch model there. And then our third program is called World Domination. This is typically for people who've got money running through lots of entities, high level, high touch, often small to medium business.
Okay, cool. So it progresses like Get Sorted, Like a Boss, and then World Dom.
Yeah.
And are you willing to share the price point, or you'd rather not?
Yeah.
What do you charge for each of them?
So we break it up between obviously couples and singles, and we charge. So our initial price point for a single on a Get Sorted program is $3,700.
And that's
part of that can come per year.
Yep.
That's to do the initial strategy work and all of the meetings and coaching up front.
Yep.
And then once they receive the strategy, it's a flat fee of $190 per month.
Okay.
For as long as they need our help. And the monthly membership is all paid from cash flow. So we moved away from any of our ongoing membership subscriptions coming from super. We wanted to make sure that we were really clear about what we were charging and making sure that we weren't taking away from people's retirement, because we initially started it and we were taking some fees from super and some from cash flow. We were like, right, well, we need to recontribute that money. And clients were like, yay, or members were like, yeah. And then when it actually came to it, they wouldn't do it. So we made a decision that all of our ongoing memberships should be from cash.
And if something new comes up and they're on that 190, you charge for that, I'm assuming.
So included in the monthly membership is all of the changes and pivots that happen in your life. And that's why it's a membership, because we say to them, like, you can reach out at any time. We're checking in on you monthly. We're tracking your goals monthly. But if you need a new statement of advice because something has changed, well, then that's included in the program. Now, if they get to a point where actually Like a Boss is more appropriate for them, well, then they need to pay the difference and move on to that.
Right. And the Like a Boss is, what's the price point there?
For the individual, the starting price point is $4,700 to do all the initial coaching and strategy.
Cool.
And then the monthly membership is $370.
And if someone's going up from Get Sorted to Like a Boss, do you still do the upfront work before you? Is it still $4,700 or they just they upgrade the monthly fee?
Just the difference, yeah.
Okay, cool. And then world domination, love it.
For an individual, it's $8,900, and then the monthly is $750. So we don't charge. I should have explained this. We don't charge any percentage of investment.
Got it.
Fees.
Perfect. Good stuff. So I wanted to ask a little bit of question about, this is a question that's come up a couple of times. So you got clients who are going through the business. What happens when they sort of they start to fall outside your ideal client demographic? It probably hasn't happened so much yet, but what's the plan? Or are you going to work it out when you get there?
So it hasn't happened as yet. And this is something, what were you going to call the business? The Grey Fox or something?
Silver Fox.
Silver Fox.
I like that.
For the retirees.
Silver Fox.
Look, Fox and Hare as a brand is focused on wealth accumulators. All of our messaging, all of our communication, the way that we communicate is focused on that demographic. So at the moment, there's no aspiration to work outside that. In fact, if we do, to Jess's point earlier, if someone does, we're being quite humbled in that a number of our members actually referred their parents. We're not the right fit. So we would refer them to an advice firm that deals with pre and post retirees. But in saying that, we've had quite a number of advisors reach out to us where, their focus is those pre and post retirees. So they're quite comfortable to refer, potentially, people that reach out to them that may not be the right fit for them. And because we are so specific, they're really comfortable to do so.
It's this niche thing has fueled so much of your growth and it's directive. I mean, and it's also, I love the fact you're very comfortable turning around and go, no, but we'll help you and find you something. That's something a lot of businesses never quite get the hang of it. That's okay not to be right for some people.
Yeah.
I want to ask a question about how has the relationship and the working relationship between you actually evolved over this period?
We're married. We're not married. We're more married to each other.
Do you have disagreements or do you tend to find you're pretty aligned with it? Okay.
So Jess and I are the polar opposites. So I should rephrase that. We come at things from completely different perspectives. However, we always want the same kind of end result. So we always want the same thing, but we just come at things quite differently, which I think has been one of the biggest assets for Fox and Hare. Yeah. In that, sometimes Jess has crazy wild ideas and I've got to go, no, we've got to kind of do the basics first. But then again, like if we just do the basics, we'd be a really, really boring business. And Jess has to kind of pull me out of the box and say, no, let's kind of focus on this. So I think we're very fortunate.
Yeah. And look, we hold space for each other and we have a session that's just Glenn and I every week. And we honestly say, like, how are you? Like, tell me what's going on. And we're really open. And if we're frustrated at each other, we say it and we call it and we nip it in the bud early, because we learned very early on that holding on to that and working through it ourselves isn't the right thing. So it's definitely an evolution, and we're about to turn 3, which is so exciting. But as I mentioned, like we were working together before the launch, just like any good relationship, it's all about communication. And I think we do that really, really well.
How do you make decisions?
I just say what I want. No, we don't do that.
Decision made.
On
the fly?
We don't do them on the fly. We use Traction, which Dean from our license really embedded in us. So throughout the week, if we've got things that we need to make decisions on, we text them in. There's a consolidated list. We work through them together, and then basically by the end of the meeting, the idea is that the decision has been made.
Love it. So good. So Let's look back on the year. If you could go back again, there's so much you wouldn't change. You do exactly the same, right? But there must be a few things you go, I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do that. And I would delay that, do that sooner. What are they?
So the first thing, and Dean will appreciate this, embrace advisor logic. We, for the first 12 months of our business, so just for context, Jess and I had never been financial advisors before launching Fox Hare. We'd always been in the advice industry, but never as advisors. So we had never used the likes of Advisor Logic or Xplan or anything like that. And we opened Advisor Logic and we're like, this is ugly. Like, this is a terrible system, and we're just not going to use it. We're completely, and that was a mistake. We should have embraced it sooner. From a hiring perspective, so we were going to hire one additional support staff rather. In March, we hired 4. Okay. So that obviously had a huge, impact on cash flow. But we've now, in a very short period, grown into that. And even the thought process around hiring, 3 advisors now, so the 2 experienced and the 1 associate, we are growing at such an exponential rate. Yeah, it's going to have an impact on cash flow, but we are really confident that we'll grow into that quite quickly.
So it's higher at a rate that matches the cash flow.
Well, kind of. So that's what we have done.
Right.
One learning for us. So we didn't buy a book. We didn't buy, any members or anything like that. We literally started from scratch, reflecting on the last 2.5 years. And Jess and I were just talking about this last week. Maybe we should have borrowed a couple of $100,000 to kind of set ourselves up initially to fund some of those, some talent, some support staff or an additional advisor before we're able to do it via cash flow. Gotcha. That is a huge risk, but it could have ended in a potential, potential return.
So I think the hiring the right people is, I know we talk about the right people and all the rest of it, but I kind of think hiring on values is really important, but also hire people can do the job.
Totally.
Yeah.
Twofold.
Anything else?
They're probably the main ones, I'd say. Our focus at the moment is really building the progress meeting. So building our ongoing coaching proposition. Our, the onboarding for our members isn't seamless. There's a lot of work that can still be done, but our coaching programs and, the experience that our members have in those formal progress meetings and between those formal progress meetings is front of mind for Jess constantly.
I've just noticed the time, and I have no doubt you guys have got meetings coming up after this. I can tell from Jess, she's looking at the time. So let's talk about this. Let's talk about 2 things. I want to know, and I'm particularly keen to hear from you, Jess. Where do you think the industry is going? What do you think is going to be more and more important when it comes to advice in the next few years? And then I also want to give you the opportunity, if people want to find out more about you, if they know somebody who they want to put forward for a role, where can they go?
Yeah, sure. So I think there is opportunity everywhere. I know that we've all been through a lot, and I think that we have to shake the shackles off and remember that. And Glenn giggles whenever I say this, but we have to stop thinking that financial advice is only for one particular demographic in the world. And we are so passionate about increasing the level of diversity of those who give and receive financial advice. Good quality financial advice shouldn't just be for pre and post retiree people. So I am hoping that the good work that we all do really increases the level of understanding of what financial advice is, and also who thinks, hey, maybe this is actually for me. I'm really, really keen to see more financial literacy at large. And I think there's a massive space that we can hold in terms of how we contribute as a profession to what level of financial literacy most Australians have. Like 1 in 3 people pre-COVID was going to work feeling financially stressed. 1 in 3. We talk about mental health. We talk about physical health. Like we talk about all this stuff. Like there's such a big gap that no one's talking about at the moment. And we get so excited talking about investment returns and all of that stuff. But what about some of the basics of people who are on really good money, who have overcommitted themselves, who are going to work stressed every day and have no safe space to talk about it? So I think there's a massive opportunity. And I think the concept of true financial wellness and coaching-based programs is going to continue to evolve and be a space that we can really pioneer. People want to have open and honest conversations about money. They just don't know where to start. And as an advice community, we're in this weird paradigm where we've not been taught how to have these conversations. We've not been taught how to counsel people through big life decisions. And yet that is where people see the value. They love that you fixed their super for them, or you've got income protection, or they've now got their budget done. They love all that. But really, they really value, and we know because we ask our members, these really intimate conversations that they don't get to have with anyone. And I think that that's so exciting for the future.
Glenn, anything to add?
No, I think Jess has nailed it. I mean, this is the whole premise behind why we exist, just to ensure that people that didn't think financial advice was right for them have the ability to reach out and get their shit sorted.
Love it. What I'd love to ask of everybody who's with us, which is everyone, can you just type in the box and let me know what's been the most useful thing you've taken away from today? The one thing that it's really connected with you, it's kind of excited you, or you feel like you could put to work in your business to make it happen. And I guess let's just close it off by, if people want to sort of connect with you or learn more, how do they do that?
We're on all the socials, as you would probably imagine for a 25 to 45-year-old demographic-based business. But in all seriousness, foxandhare.com.au is our website. Glenn and I are on LinkedIn. We would love to connect with you. We'd love to learn more about your journey. Like, we don't hold all the answers. We hold more questions than answers most of the time. And so we don't sit here professing to know it all. We know that there's brilliant advisors and brilliant businesses, and we'd love to learn what they're doing well as well. But yeah, Glenn and I have been so humbled in, we've had so many mentors take us to where we are now. And we'd love to hear what other people are doing. So yeah, LinkedIn's probably easiest to have one-on-one chats with us.
LinkedIn is very, very simple to connect with people. I think it's one of the best ways of partnerships and all the rest of it. Guys, this has been awesome. Have we got, there was a question that David's asked about price.
Yes, I saw that.
Yeah, I feel like we need to answer. Do we have to end at 11, or have we got time to answer that?
I think I'm okay.
Yeah. We're good.
Okay, so just about price. And this, oh man, I'm going to stay out of this one because price and the way people think about it. Fear of losing a client in the early stages. Do you adopt the thought process if the client's not willing to pay, they're not right for you, and open negotiation? What do you got to say about the price thing?
We don't negotiate on price.
Okay, and why?
Never.
Well, I don't go to a cardiologist and say, can you do me a deal? It devalues what we do. And I know how much value we can bring to the table. And I know what it costs for us to deliver this advice. And I would love to deliver advice cheaper. It's not possible right now. And we are very clear on our costs. We are we don't run a lot of fat in our business. And we know to implement and to have the tech solutions, we can't deliver advice profitably if we negotiate on price. And I also feel like it's unfair if someone gets a special deal and other people don't. I don't think that that's right.
I'm going to say if the problem was people were truly price sensitive, they wouldn't buy things they can't afford. And that is the biggest problem in the world. So there's no really, it's never about price, because if it was, people wouldn't buy stupid shit, frankly.
All about value. And this myth that young people won't pay for financial advice, we think we've busted that. It's about how do you actually deliver something that they will value.
Do you ever ask the how much do you pay your cleaner question?
Never, because we don't ever get price questions.
There you go.
To be very transparent. And we have an initial coffee meeting and we share our pricing programs. And if they aren't the right fit, they don't move on.
Guys, I know you've got to go. This has been absolutely a ball. Thank you so much, and have a great weekend. And to everybody who's attended, thanks for being part of it. I'll see you guys later.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, everyone.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.
So there you have it, another episode of The Finnovator. I hope you got a lot out of that. It's a really great story, and I think it's always really interesting to sort of dive in behind the story, or the story here. Anyway, that's it for me for The Finnovator. I hope you're enjoying it. I wanted to just give a quick shout out. It's been an interesting year, isn't it? We're coming towards the end. But one of the topics that I've really focused down probably over the last 2 years, but it's become increasingly sort of evident to me why it's important, is pricing. And with so many questions that come up on a regular basis, I wanted to create some sort of white paper that would give you, my listeners, advice businesses out there, a bit of insight into sort of what it takes to get your pricing right. We have created a guide, a white paper if you like. We tried to make it really, really practical to give you some insight into some benchmarks, but move away from sort of some of the data-driven approaches to this and really give you the nuts and bolts. But also in there I've unpacked how I work with businesses to work out what their number should be, and most importantly to analyze their client bases to find out what I call the profit gap, the subsidization or the profit that you're giving away that in many cases, in a lot of cases in fact, robs you of the capacity and ability to get on the front foot with this stuff and deliver the advice, because things have changed. It's taking longer than ever to deliver advice. There's a lot more requirements on advisors. So if you are in a situation where you're finding yourself overwhelmed, busier, and you're wondering, have you got the profit model right, or what should it look like going forward, you can head over to ourdare.com.au/pricing-guide and just pop in your email address and you can grab a copy of that. That's it from me. Stay tuned for the next episode of The Finnovator, but in the meantime, I hope you've enjoyed it and take care of yourself.